Spoilers ahead for this already trash show. What to do, ladies and gentlemen? It's the Vulgar Desperado here with a quick freestyle roast review of the new unfortunate Obi-Wan series. Now, I did a reaction to the trailer not too long ago when it first dropped, and I'll admit Disney got me. They got me hook, line, and sinker. Best I can say is Disney knows how to make a damn trailer. That's for sure. Disney definitely knows how to sell you some shit, but in the end of the day, when you get down to opening the box on the product, it's not really what you want or expect. Now, admittedly, it's only the first 2 episodes of what, 12, 6 episode limited series. I don't remember how many episodes they're about to have, but especially on a sense of a limited series, like while it could get better, I don't have much hope for it. I wasn't like extremely disappointed, but I found myself thinking I don't feel the need to continue watching this to see if it gets better. I can wait till somebody uploads on YouTube the fight between Obi and Darth Maul, and then I can judge that later. And before we get into it, please do like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. Trying to get the channel to grow here. So if you go ahead and hit that like button and that subscribe button, really appreciate it. Now, on to the review. It's time for me to put this minor in film studies to use. Now, on the technical aspect, one thing I don't like about, generally speaking, most of Disney Star Wars, especially when it comes to some of their more later TV shows and more grittier, if you will, storytelling stories that they are trying to tell, there seems to be this gray hue on the camera lens. It seems to try to make the story have a more darker, somber tone. And, in any other kind of film, it might work into what you're trying to convey. I mean, and I get it. Order 66 just happened, 10 years ago. And you want to have this feel of sadness on it. But even in Star Wars' darkest moments, it pops. It's visually stunning from the old original trilogy to the prequel trilogy, especially the prequel because there was a shit ton of CGI. But nonetheless, it's space. It's futuristic. It has to pop. Even if you're trying to convey sadness, there are other methods than using this kind of grayish filter. And that could be mean. You might be sitting here saying, oh, you colorblind or some shit like that. But there is something that they're, putting on the lens to make it seem like and you might say, well, it's only on Tatooine and it's only, during the sandy times. And I get that, but go back to the other movies. Go back to when Luke was on Tatooine. Go back to when Anakin, Obi, and Qui-Gon were on Tatooine. It doesn't do that there. It still pops. You don't have to make it dimmer to make it somber. And while some people also might sit there and say, well, it's different directors. This one was directed by Deborah Cho. And, you can even obviously make the same argument with the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. Original trilogy directed by different people each time. And then the prequel trilogy is all directed by George Lucas. The difference being is George Lucas was at the head of both series. He was, hey, here's the vision. And they never put that fucking camera lens on there or whatever it was. Like, for me personally, it doesn't kind of fit because when you kind of use certain methods to capture certain feels, you're kind of negating other feels of Star Wars. And while Star Wars can be gruesome and dark at times, it's still a very fun, bright, and happy, series, if you will. I don't think that camera lens or even some of just the filming and editing styles, like choices in this one, kind of works. You kind of, it's odd to me at sometimes you'll kind of go from like still camera to shaky camera, and then you'll just have some, I wouldn't say like choppy, but just poor choices of editing when you're trying to go from one person to another. They could have used more whole moving camera, capture everybody type deals, where it just moves in between the characters instead of just and in particular, I think I'm kind of thinking of the first scene when they meet up with the Inquisitors. It was just it could have been filmed better. Again, that's me being a little nitpicky on it, but I think the editing could have been a little bit better along with the whole gray hue camera lens shit. Another point of contention on the technical side was the music. I thought for the most part, I mean, it wasn't bad. Like, it's, obviously, like, these are good songs, professional artists, blah, blah, blah. And every time Obi-Wan was on the scene, I didn't really have any complaints about the background music or the scores they chose, but there was something very off about the choice of music for when you went to Alderaan and when you went to Leia. It was overly happy. I don't know, like that's a really dumb way to phrase it, but you're listening to it and you're just like, well, this is surely not John Williams. Like, it doesn't have that, I don't know, majestic space opera feel that what Star Wars is. Like, mind you, it's a space opera. You know, when I'm listening to this music, it just sounded like the beginning of fucking Hunger Games prequel, right? Like, it just sounded like some teeny movie with the little girl in her, prequel series version of herself before she goes and becomes Katniss or fucking Wonder Woman, whatever. That's what that sounded like to me. It's not the best way to describe it, but I felt like the music was off-putting. It didn't capture the deep and richness of what Star Wars is. It just kind of captured like this feeling that I would argue feels better in a different movie. I mean, in the most general sense, when I was watching this series, sometimes it didn't feel like Star Wars. It just felt like Space Adventure, the TV show. And on that note, let's get to the plot and the meat of everything. Now, I will say the first 20 minutes of the first episode was pretty good. It was all about Obi. You're kind of seeing where he is now, and you're getting the recaps. And similar to the Matrix Resurrection or whatever the fourth shitty Matrix was called, your best moments are scenes from your previous movies, and that's sad. And what's even sadder is, in my opinion, Disney stole that idea from whoever made that one pretty famous internet video, Obi-Wan suffering from PTSD, where it's Alex Guinness, Obi-Wan talking to Luke, telling him about his father, but they intermingle it with scenes from Revenge of the Sith and Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. It's a pretty cool YouTube video. Everyone's probably seen it if you're a Star Wars fan, but if not, go check that shit out. And I'd make the argument that Disney basically stole that shit. You see Obi-Wan sitting there sleeping, and he's having dreams about that stuff, and I was kind of like, did they just take that idea? Like, did they just see what was popular and be like, hey, let's go ahead and do that? That's kind of how that felt to me. But again, it wasn't bad. It was cool. It was nice to watch that. But for me, where it really becomes just Space Adventure, the movie, and where it really falls off the rail is when we go to Alderaan with Leia. Now, I don't want to be too hard on the kid, and we all know the Star Wars lore and how Jake Lloyd, the young boy that played Anakin, got some hell for the movie and all that stuff. So I'm not here to diss the little girl actress who played Leia. Granted, she was a terrible actress, but like, hey, she's a kid. But when it came to that story, when it came to all of it, you were like, oh, this is where Disney's going to shove in its agenda. Because yes, we know Leia is a little firecracker, a little spitball, whatever. She's not afraid to, say her mind. But she still is a princess. She still is poised. She still has class. And she's still a woman. Okay? We start this off again on some generic YA Hunger Games Wonder Woman type bullshit where the Queen of Alderaan, whatever, Leia's mother, can't find her. And then after Leia, disguises herself and she finds Leia hanging out in a tree in the woods, Leia's sitting there with her pet robot friend, naming all the different spaceship cruisers because they're so badass and blah, blah, blah. Leia's mom comes up to her, and while she's coming down this tree, about to give her this scolding, she literally says, it's like raising a boy. Now, I don't fucking know what it is with these writers of modern times where they don't know how to write a woman that's not really basically a boy in disguise, or they just can't even just simply stop acknowledging, or not even stop acknowledging, but just stop trying to make these little girls boys. It's really kind of weird because you can be a fiery girl but not be reminiscent of a boy. You know, like that was literally what the mom said. She said, it's like raising a boy. And Leia's supposed to be 10 while she acts like she's fucking 5 and looks like she's 5, but she's supposed to be 10. And then New Hope, what, she's 16, 17? So 6 years later, she's supposed to be not a little boy? Because yes, she had mouth on her, but never did you not once feel like she wasn't a princess, she wasn't royal. There were certain things that grossed her out. She wasn't one of the guys. And they to me, they tried to kind of portray that with her talking about these spaceships and just, you know, being more interested in like boyish things than, you know, her princessly duties. And that was something that I think was kind of, you know, missed on here. And again, she is a 10-year-old and, you know, that's kind of young. But if you're trained to be a princess, that doesn't, the next 6 years isn't going to make you just a better princess. You're going to be like ingrained in this world and in this culture. And then they definitely harp on the fact that, oh, you're going to be a senator, you're going to be a senator. And it's like, well, we all know her as Princess Leia first. And she should be more princessly. Doesn't mean she has to be a old stick in the mud. But maybe the real issue is just like, how fucking cliche is this? I mean, it's no different than any other Disney movie. I'm a princess, but I don't want to be. I'd rather roll around in the mud. Alright, well, how many times can we watch this shit before we say, yo, this is fucking corny? You know, now it's not that, you know, I got some beef on the tomboys. I actually like them. But I think as a storytelling device, there's something here that's just very corny and kind of a disservice to not only Leia as the characters, but to the young women that they're trying to preach whatever fucking message this is. You don't have to be a boy to be tough. You just kind of have to be yourself. And maybe that is kind of, you know, the message they're trying to sell. But when the mom said it's like raising a boy, I'm pretty sure we all knew what the fuck she meant by that. Now, the whole plot revolving around Leia does more or less kind of get the story going for Obi-Wan. I feel like most people would argue they'd prefer it to be a little bit different, but sure, whatever. It gets you back into action. So Leia gets captured, and her father, Senator Organa, is like, I need your help to save her, please, blah, blah, blah. And this is where they kind of run into some continuity efforts, and I'm 1,000% sure they're probably going to try to do some mind erasure type deal. But basically, from the first episode, or episode 4, you know, New Hope, first Star Wars movie, Leia says, hey, you helped my father in the Clone Wars, now I need your help. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. But now we have it that Obi-Wan is actually meeting Leia at 10 years old. You're telling me 6 years later she wouldn't remember this man? Continuity errors. So my guess, they'll probably try to erase her memory or some shit and try to, you know, play into the whole deal of, because it didn't make sense. It didn't fucking make sense. Simple as that. You don't have somebody be 10 talking about my father this, my that. It's like, bitch, you know him. You know him. So continuity errors on the fucking writers and creators of that was just stupid. You shouldn't have done that. And then the whole Senator Organa talking like, oh, well, you need to save my daughter. She's just as important as Luke. Disney will use any, and I really do mean any fucking chance they can to shit on Luke and prop up Leia. Like, what was it? The Rise of Skywalker. Luke's training Leia. And the only time when you see like the little quick scene of that, she's beating him in the fight. You know, any chance that Disney gets, they will shit on Luke. They do not want to show you Luke. They don't want to use Luke. They just hate him. I don't know why, but they have a fucking hate boner for some Luke Skywalker. And what also makes the fucking Leia sub-story really, really corny was this embarrassing fucking chase scene. Maybe I can find a clip for it if Disney doesn't copyright strike the fuck out of me, but Lord, that shit was hilarious. Like I said, this girl's supposed to be 10. She looks like a 5-year-old, and she's probably the height of a 5-year-old. She has 2 chase scenes in this fucking episodes. 2 chase scenes where they cannot catch her. Obi-Wan can't catch her. 3 fucking bandits can't capture her. And I seen in a comment when people were roasting this on one of these websites, like somebody was like, well, she's got the Force and da-da-da. No, This girl is 5. All right, I don't care if this is she's 5, and she has the littlest legs. They 2 steps and she should have been caught. All right, they literally get stopped by like some branches that they could run under, hop over, all kinds of shit. It's the most saddest attempt at a chase scene in the first episode, and then it gets even worse in the second one because she's jumping off roofs in the next one, and Obi-Wan's Leia. Like I don't know. I don't know. I was quite embarrassed for it because, especially for the first one, that first episode was like an hour and some change. You could have added some more crap and just made that chase scene like literally not even chasing. Just have her get captured. That's all I need to do. She just needed to get captured. But that's why I said it feels like Space Adventure the movie. They're just trying to show the young, strong girl being brave and doing this and that. And it's like, it doesn't make sense. It's stupid to watch and it's corny. And it's beyond cliched. It's so trite and tired that you need to just bury it. Girls can be strong, sure. But you don't need every single opportunity in a film to show that. I mean, later on when Obi finally does get Leia, it gets really retarded because instead of acting like what an actual 10-year-old would act like, they have her, they try to kind of have this like pseudo adult thing. Like Obi's like, how old are you? And she's like 10. He's like, oh, don't act like it. And it's, yeah, trying to show she's connected to the Force and she's kind of reading minds and feelings and blah, blah, blah. But again, she acts like she's 5. You know, she's a 10-year-old written like a 5-year-old that sometimes talks like a 30-year-old. It's kind of weird. And there are just these moments, like, so she gets saved by Obi, and she doesn't trust him initially, and she's all like an annoying 5-year-old asking all these questions and, you know, just trying to explore and have a good old time. And it's like, in some stories that might work, but you just got captured. You're a royal princess. She should have a little bit either more fear, a little bit more poise to the situation, like an understanding, like this is serious, or something. Not just like, hey, this is a good time, just for her to go around later in the fucking episode and be like, oh, you're a wanted man, Obi-Wan, I can't trust you, you're a bad guy, and then freak out and have another fucking chase scene. And then, simultaneously later, not simultaneously, but later on, simultaneously saying, she said, I can't trust you, Obi-Wan, just for Obi-Wan later on to say, hey, when fucking, what's the one dude, Kujami, I can't remember his name, but the cameo actor who's faking a Jedi, he helps Obi-Wan out at one point. Obi-Wan's like, I don't know if we can trust this guy. And Leia's like, well, if somebody's offering you help, shouldn't you trust it? The fuck just happened to you 5 minutes ago? Obi-Wan's like, hey, I'm here to save you. Do you got any other options? Who else would you do? Do you want to stay here? Then she freaks out and runs. Obi-Wan has the same questioning suspicion later on, and now she's about it. Like, it's dumb. It's dumb. It's bad writing. It's bad dialogue. Do fucking better, Disney. Now on to some of the other characters in the story. Like I said, we had that one cameo scene, and I'd argue that's another issue. What Disney Star Wars is they make it too fucking jokey. It's too much of a let's have a ball, let's have a blast, you know. Some people will criticize the dialogue of the prequel series, but as I watched it throughout the years, I came to appreciate it and kind of like and respect what I think George Lucas was trying to do. Now maybe he could say, hey, maybe I could write better or whatever. But I like the stoicism, if you will, the almost even kill in many, especially of the Jedis, but even a lot of just the characters. There's like a elegancy to it. Again, it's a space opera. But when you add in these, like, let me roast the Jedis by pretending to be a Jedi, let me, you know, make fucking equivalency of fart and piss jokes because I'm scared and blah, blah, whatever, you know. It just kind of feels more like a Marvel movie, more like some B-rated, straight to DVD type of humor, action buddy cop film, whatever kind of jokes. And personally with his character, maybe if you made it a little bit more serious, or maybe made him a little bit more crooked, but like in a slyer kind of way, you know, like it'd be a little bit more cool. But there's just these elements of humors that are just so off-putting for the world of Star Wars that I think Disney, again, they need to find some new fucking writers. Like, you can't be so jokey in this series. Now, on to the Inquisitors. Pointless, useless, waste of it. I don't know what you want to say. I do know that from doing some research that the Grand Inquisitor actually got dropped out like a bitch, and in apparently the Clone Wars cartoon or some shit, he goes out in a different way. Apparently, you can go check that shit out, but they kind of killed him quickly, and it might not be the exact bait and switch people were thinking about with Obi-Wan getting switched out for the black chick Rivi or whatever her name is. But it looks like she bait and switched for the villain role, and she's going to be the new main villain. Now, that's not a bad thing if you didn't already have, again, another continuity error. If the Grand Inquisitor dies in a different way and was doing a lot more things in the lore, actual canon, and apparently it's actually Disney canon too, then you're retarded, alright? Maybe he'll come back, I don't fucking know. A lightsaber to the gut usually just kills a motherfucker, but hey, it's Disney Star Wars and they can heal people with the Force now. But we'll see about him. Now, on to her, Revi, I forgot what the fuck her name is, but the new black chick in here who's like the Grand Inquisitor murderer chick. A lot of people didn't like her, and I'm kind of partial. I do understand some people have complaints about the acting, and I honestly I'd say acting all around. I mean, Ewan McGregor was okay. I feel like they just gave him the best of what he had to do. I feel like in that general sense, there could have been more for him to show off, but again, we're in the beginning. Her as an actor, I think it's a weird dance because it's like we have to believe she hates Obi-Wan and she's got this hard-on boner for him, and maybe in time will tell, the story will make it be a little bit better for us to like it. But for me personally, and I'm go a different route than what most people like to say. Outside of video games and anime, especially when it comes to live action, when you have your villain, even as a Jedi, when you have your villain as a lady, it's going to be complicated. You're not going to be able to film men going all out in a fight, even with a chick who's super, super badass. Like, it doesn't work 90% of the time. You will, if you look closely enough, you will see that the man has to hold back to not look like a piece of shit. That's just a formula of storytelling. You watch any old fucking movie, any old action, and whenever the dude has to fight the chick, he's usually getting beat up for a while until he has, he gets that saving grace victory. Think Rush Hour 2. And I know, that's a comedy, but that's how a lot of these fights go. You get your ass whooped until you run away. Why? Because it makes you not look like a pig. And hey, I get it. Nobody wants to beat up on women, but that's kind of why I make an argument that instead of a black chick, should have been a black dude. Like, you might have an opportunity for some cooler fights, might have an opportunity to really just show off, and it might be a little bit more believable. Now, we'll get into the story more often, probably, or later, later, and you'll see maybe what's her reasoning for all this hate. But it just comes off as a little unbelievable. Personally, just as like, depending on the type of story, depending on what you're telling, sometimes it's awesome to have like these ladies be these villains, these hardcore, almost manliest villains, right? Can't think of an example off top, but in other cases, doesn't really work. With this chick, same thing with the Leia thing. If you're gonna basically write these characters as male but make them female, you're going to miss something that makes the characters believable. Now, I know we're all in this anybody can be whatever they want, special butterfly type of way, but truly and honestly, if you were gonna make her basically act like a man, should have just made her a man. There has to be something that makes her a little bit different and more unique in her womanhood to make her that type of villain, or make her a believable villain, I should say. Because otherwise, you're just kind of looking at somebody that's unlikable, and there's just nothing. And it's not even like unlikable, like, oh, she's so bad, like I love to hate her. Like, it's just like, all right, stop with your whining. What complaining for? Like, it's it doesn't sit well with the audience. I wouldn't necessarily say it's bad acting because sometimes she's fine, but I do find it, yeah, when she's super super gung ho, this drive and passion, it's just kind of like it seems less believable. Not because she's a female, but because it's not written in a way that maybe a woman might speak. Even just some of the word choices and look, writing, directing, all that. Like, yeah, that shit matters. Okay, you can call misogynist, you can call all that other bullshit, but it fucking matters in your dialogue choices. There are certain words that certain genders will use that will make you be more believable to your audience. And I'm not sitting there saying she needs to say please, ma'am, and thank you or whatever the fuck, but there is something that's a little off-putting about it. And let's not even start up on her whole Batwoman fucking flipping around the rooftop scenes, okay? That shit was fucking hilarious and very odd because they made it seem like she was close to Obi-Wan and then like she was like 30 minutes away. I don't know. Fuck, it was just weird. It was a really weird scene. And maybe she can get better, but I kind of doubt it. Another continuity error is at the end with the chick Inquisitor, third sister. They try to make it seem like, Obi-Wan had no idea that Anakin was alive. He had no idea that Vader was still around. And it's been fucking 10 years. Now, they didn't put heat. Now, was in his little tube at the end or some shit. And not the he was in a watery tube, if I'm thinking right, if I'm not just getting the whole new Jedi Survivor trailer confused. But nonetheless, they try to make it seem like, oh, Vader's back and Obi-Wan had no idea, and everybody calls cap on that. That's bullshit. The fact of the matter is, Palpatine and Vader were running the fucking Empire, like, literally exactly after the fucking Episode 3. Like, and then you're telling me, like, for 10 years, Obi-Wan just didn't know that shit? Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. It's not a good cliffhanger. It wasn't a good surprise. I understand what you're trying to do, but you're only showing that motherfuckers are not watching Star Wars, and you're letting people who don't care or know about Star Wars write your fucking movies. And that's the problem in the end of the day. The continuity errors may seem small to some, but they're big to legit fans. And in the end of the day, if you really are trying to capture some new fans, they're going to go back and watch those little movies and be like, hey, this shit didn't happen. Hold on, that didn't make sense. And that's what's happening here. From the Leia message to fucking the Anakin being alive message, you're almost rewriting the history. And not in a cool way. It'd be one thing to add to the history, like, oh, that was happening, and George Lucas signed off on it, but instead you're giving us something that nobody asked for, nobody, wanted you to change, and really just a bunch of unbelievable shit. You need to do better research and care more about what you're putting out, Disney. And finally, as this is a long one, I'll try to end on a positive note. Kind of like I said earlier, yeah, Ewan McGregor was not too bad. And overall, I don't think many of the actors were that bad, even Third Sister Inquisitor. Yeah, I will say, like, the little girl Leia, sorry, not trying to give you the Jake Lloyd treatment, but she was not that good. You could find somebody else or somebody that was actually 10. That girl was 5. I don't care what anyone says. She was 5 years old. And I'm trying to be positive here, but it wasn't. There's potential. I think the biggest selling point for this series is going to be its lightsaber fights, which we didn't really get in these first 2 episodes. No surprise there. But there is a chance that maybe, just maybe, the Leia story is done. We're not doing the whole baby wolf and cub bullshit like Obi Wolf's son and cub type, Mandalorian little storytelling device again. Hopefully we're not, because I'll be real, the way things are with Leia is just going to be an annoying character. But maybe there's some hope in that within Obi's story of redemption coming back to the Force. Okay, actually, one more complaint. Obi-Wan is supposed to be in training. Remember that shit? He's supposed to be training. He even wakes up calling out to Qui-Gon, and yet he could barely force grab Leia when she fell off the roof because of her dumbass chase scenes. Now, I get it. You want to say maybe he's, he's not connected to it. You want to like say he's kind of turned his back on it, and they do show that. They do show that. But again, continuity era. It's been 10 years. Was he training for the first five and then said, now I'm sad? Like, maybe if you back down the years a little bit, maybe make him actually 5 years old. Something. Because 10 years later, just for New Hope to pick up 6 years later, some of the things already don't make a lot of sense. But again, let me try to be a little bit more polite and say that I do hope that they do Obi Ewan McGregor's character some justice, because they're already kind of showing him as like, let the little kid talk down to you in any old way. Damn, I'm trying to say something nice about this show. The lightsaber hilts look tight. I don't know, man. Fuck, I don't have much to say. Disney kind of got me with the bait and switch. I might do some other reviews on this one just to kind of keep, notice on it. Maybe they'll be a little bit shorter, but yeah, I'm sorry. Disney, this was not where it's at. I don't have much hope or much faith, but we shall see. I'd like to be wrong because Obi is my favorite character, but I don't trust the hands of Disney. We know what Kathleen Kennedy is doing, and I'd rather fucking watch a series from George Lucas about Jar Jar Binks than any more of her bullshit. Please like and subscribe.